It seems like season 7 Vampire Diaries might be doing a bit of a structural change, like maybe time jump, maybe doing some interesting things with that. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I can. I won't tell you exactly what we're doing with the time, but I will say, the show has successfully told a story in present day, and then we've also had all this fun going back to these period times, and we love telling these lateral stories across time. I don't know what the phrase is for that, but it's just this sprawling, long story. And so this season we were like, how can we keep things interesting? How can we shake it up? So there are going to be like these little glimpses into the future where you see things and you're like, how did that happen? And so the fun will be watching the show, which is mostly in present day, and trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And then by, whatever episode, you're like, oh, that's why we saw that in episode 10. Now it's all making sense. We're leaving kind of breadcrumbs for the fans to kind of keep engaged and, talk about.
Now, whose flash forward do you think will be the most surprising for fans?
We're kind of still working them out, but I think the point of them is to have everyone be more interesting than the last, so that you watch it and you're like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense, regarding what I know now. So hopefully all of them, if we do them right. Even though there's 22 episodes, so sure it'll be a piece of cake.
So are we going to catch up to the future?
Yeah, that's our plan. Is that by the end of this, close to the end of the season, everything makes sense. Which, for a writer to try to plot that out, it's like my brain is tied in knots. But that's the hope. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about
Sure. Yeah, when we ended in May, Stefan kissed Caroline on the cheek and said, basically, I'm ready when you are. And now Caroline is like, okay, I just lost my best friend. My mom's dying. I'm trying to get through the grief of that. And so what's fun about coming and finding them in season 7 is that feeling of oh, where do we stand in our relationship, where it's a little awkward and they're friends, but they're not friends. They obviously like each other. So it'll be sort of exploring that newness of where they are now. But ultimately, I think, hopefully, Caroline will realize Stefan is an amazing guy, and she'd be an idiot if she kept drawing this out any longer. So obviously, there's going to be obstacles that get in their way, but that's going to be sort of the big, huge, epic love story of the season.
Can you say anything about their relationship and the flash forwards at all, their dynamic?
I will say it will be very intriguing. Yeah.
With Lily sticking around, what's the plan for her this season?
So, obviously it was a huge loss to the series when we lost Elena, because she's sort of the centerpiece of the Damon and Stefan bromance. She's the third point in the triangle. And what's kind of evolved out of Elena leaving and Lily stepping in is that all of a sudden the boys have a new third point in the triangle, because there's this woman who Stefan feels sort of softer towards. He has always sort of warmed up to her, even though she's this horrible person to him, but he can't help but be drawn to her. And Damon, who's just cold to her because he feels betrayed. And it's this woman trying to kind of wedge her way in between these boys who are now trying to bond together. And so it has become this interesting triangle. So Lily is trying to manage this new family of heretics. We saw them come in the finale. They all reunited. So she's trying to manage them and be a mother figure to these people as they figure out where they fit in modern society. And then she also has her real children over here. So in her perfect world, they all come together and live in peace. But obviously she knows that's never going to happen. So she's trying to straddle the line between both families.
Now, how does Enzo fit into Lily being around?
So Enzo has been struggling to find a place he belongs, and in the first episode he'll face basically a choice of which side am I on. Everyone is picking a side. It's Lily and the heretics, it's Stefan and Caroline and Bonnie and Matt, the good guys and bad guys, so to speak. Enzo's well, I'm friends with Damon over here. I like Caroline, she's cool. I get along with these people, but Lily's offered me basically a home, opened her arms to me. I'm mysteriously drawn to her. And so when both sides say choose a side. And so his crisis is, what side do I choose? And that will continue to be his kind of struggle through the whole season. Sorry.
Bonnie and Damon's dynamic was both strengthened in the season finale, but also made a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Can you talk about?
Sure. I think that what is interesting about them is we'll continue to play their friendship in this next season because it was such like a fun part of last season.
Yeah.
But there's this elephant in the room that like, as long as Bonnie's alive, Elaine is not, basically. And so Damon like is friends with Bonnie and wants to keep her around, but you know Damon, he just cannot not say what he's thinking. And so eventually all of like the resentment that he's keeping to himself just builds and builds and builds. And so they're going to have to actually explore this like reality of like, okay, I miss Elaine. You're the reason Elaine is not here. Let's talk about it. And Bonnie's like, I never get to see her again, so cry me a river. Sorry, yeah. Well, that was like kind of a season 1 thing, and I think it was kind of before my time when they came up with like the concept of Ripper, but we kind of wanted to play with the metaphor of like alcoholism and like drug abuse, and so we said it's sort of like a genetic thing that's kind of like alcoholism where you're just born that way, and so Stefan knows you can't overdo it on the blood, and so that's when we were talking about Lily and making her dimensional. We were like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if she also were a Ripper? And we realized, oh, that's who Stefan inherited from. Kind of all made perfect sense. But it just kind of makes vampires even more scary. That's kind of why we went there.